Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Chris Buckle's Album Club, where we listen to two albums and decide which one we like better, as well as just discuss what we liked and didn't like about the albums. Alright, today with me I have Ben,
Hello.
Matthew,
What else can I say?
and Fan.
Yahoo!
Alright, well, you already hear what today's albums are?
Yep.
Alright.
Yeah.
Alright, today's albums are Life and Times by Jim Croce and The White Stripes by The White Stripes. So, kind of random pairing here. As the initial as the initial impressions, we're gonna start with you, Ben.
So wait, which Jim Croce album was it?
Life and Times.
Okay. I know Bad We're bound for that. At least. So yes, I do know that song. Let's see if there's any. It's the White Stripes, the first White Stripes album.
I think so.
I do know White Stripes songs, but I don't think I know any of these.
Alright, Matthew, what's your initial thoughts on these two albums?
I know Jim Croce, or yes, I know one of his songs, which is one of my favorite songs. I've Got a Name, but I have never listened to his album, a full album of his. As for the White Stripes self-titled, I have of course heard of White Stripes, and I've heard, I believe two of their works, which is, let me see, Elephant, and Elephant, which is the one, and then like other one. I actually know more than one, than Jim Croce song, but it's not an artist I basically know as much. But we'll see how it goes.
So wait, Matthew, how many Jim Croce songs do you know?
Probably more than one.
I mean, I can think of.
Probably.
I've only listened to one of his songs on a constantly one, at best one.
I mean, I can think of. Well, I'm paying though. Now
Yeah,
I'm
that's
thinking.
great, buddy. Yeah, well, Ben, you can name 10 songs that are older than you are.
Wow.
So that's not.
I'm assuming you
That's-
can too, Matthew.
Yes, I can. So, but yeah, I think this is going to be a fascinating.
But
Yeah.
there's always you don't mess around with Jim. That's awful. That's not the way it feels. This is greatest song, "Time in a Bottle."
I have to say I love
His
you in a
greatest
song.
song is
Hmm?
his greatest song is "I've Got a Name." That's probably his best song.
His best song is "Time in a Bottle." But
Yeah, that's great, buddy.
I've
Just
got a name
around
is a good song.
Don't
so.
mess around with
Um,
Jim.
I don't know if I call that his best.
No, I'm not saying it's his best song. I'm just naming them. I'm just naming songs
Let's
by
have a
him.
Superman reference.
All right, guys, let's keep it.
Superman's gonna beat the shit out of you.
Ben, I respectfully put your meds on and let fans speak.
That's not very nice. Matthew, ableism and voice call? Question mark?
I don't know. My brain has been like just ever since like last Wednesday. It's just been like I'm Amadeus. I'm already an Amadeus.
Huh?
The testing my opinions.
Yes, because fan is not spoken yet.
Yeah. I'm about to get to you, fan, if I have an opportunity to transition. Alright, fan, what are your initial impressions on these albums?
Alright, so I've listened to Jim Croce's greatest hits album a lot, so I'm familiar with a few of the songs on this record. I'm a big fan of his. And I try to live my life with a pretty strict no Jack White policy at all. So, not too
not
excited
really
about the
bad.
White Stripes album.
I think Jack White is a very. I have a strict no Roger Waters diet, but no Jack White sounds kind of extreme.
Steady as She Goes is like the one Jack White song I like a lot.
Man, I feel
But
like
other than that, I'm not really a big fan, so
Matthew,
we'll
Alright.
see.
Matthew, I thought
Maybe I'll like it a lot. I'm going in with an open
Maybe
mind, but
that's what we're all about.
Matthew, I thought you liked Pink Floyd.
I do like Prince Floyd, but I don't like Roger Waters.
So
It's like how I love Smith, but I
so,
can't stand Morrison.
so you only listen to like a momentary lapse of reason of a Division Bell?
No. It's like how I
guy
love
just-
the Beatles, but I hate John Lennon.
Huh? You do?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of John Lennon as a person. But the Beatles are the greatest rock band of all time. It is okay to have um coexisting ideas of. Although I need to learn more about Jack White for fans not to have a no Jack White because I've listened
oh
to
no,
Jack White.
it's strictly musical. He seems actually
Oh.
like a great dude. I would like him as a person. I just don't like his music.
Okay. I was like, I know Jack White, like kind of offhand. I've listened to the White Stripes, but I'm not like, ooh, Jack White. I have no idea. Um, you know.
Well, it's good to know that we have at least one person here who kinda knows Jack White.
I'm glad we're on Jack White adjacent
Matthew.
podcast.
We can invite him on the podcast.
We should invite him. He's a good friend. Well, as for me, I've never really listened to the White Stripes that much. I can't say, from what little I know of how the music sounds, that I'm really super inclined to it. From just what little I've heard, but should be good.
You have heard one White Stripes song.
Oh, I've heard a couple of White Stripes songs. I just can't say any of them have really struck me as very good.
Name them.
Well, there's We're Gonna Be Friends one. There's this
Uh-huh.
other one from, I think it's from this album that some guy had me listen to that he had on like a playlist that we were listening to one day. I don't remember what his name was, but I think it's from this album maybe. I honestly can't remember its name. I could go find the playlist, theoretically, if you really want me to, but yeah. Anyways, all things considered, just not really something that struck me as pet interesting. That's what Jim Croce. I'd like. Yeah, I think I found that one. I'd like. Which song did you say it was on Life and Times, Ben?
Uh-huh.
You were looking at the track listing. Was it Leroy Brown? You said that was on this album.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a good song. I generally like his songs in general. So there's multiple of them, although I think that's maybe the only one I know right offhand from this album. But it should be good either way. Alright, well, I think at least several of us, maybe all of us, have a good idea what we're going to pick later on in this video as our favorite album of these two, but still, who knows, there could be a last surprise in the final quarter or something, and, yeah, we're going to go listen to these albums, we're going to formulate our thoughts on them, and we will be right back, maybe with or without Jack White present, to give our thoughts on the album.
I think Jack White's stuff in the album will probably pause it.
Probably. But, you know, he won't get a vote, because he's not one of our regulars. Alright, we have just gone and listened to the albums, and we are back with our thoughts on them. As usual, we're going to start with the first album, which was Life and Times by Jim Croce. And we're going to start with you, Ben.
I like this album pretty well, though even though it was pretty short, it did feel like over time it got kind of old. But it's so short that wasn't that big of a deal. But it was pretty even. The song I know for this album is Bad Leroy Brown, which, on the one hand, I do enjoy. Mostly because of nostalgia, though. And it is, I mean, to be very honest, it is basically a rip-off of his title track from his previous album, which I enjoyed more. You Don't Mess Around with Jim, which just has better songs on it. But, and it's basically just You Don't Mess Around with Jim. But, again, I mean, this plot is very similar too. Like the guy gets taken down. It's the same thing. Like there's this tough dude and he gets taken down. It's the same exact plot. I still enjoy it anyway, but well, there's also references to pop culture on the call list to show how bad he is. I mean, it's literally the same thing. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the opening few. Well, I enjoyed one less set of footsteps. That was a pretty good song. Killful Man. I enjoyed that song. And I also enjoyed a good time. Man Like Me Ain't Got No Business Singing the Blues. So I enjoyed those songs the best, along with Leroy Brown. And I do like Leroy Brown, but not because it's good, because it's not really, but just because it is fun, even if it's literally a rip off of his title track from his previous album.
All right. Matthew, it's your turn.
I thought this album was decent. I think it is typical of the genre on which it was, based upon, which is kind of, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if it's soft rock or something, but I think it's a pretty decent listen. It's a quick, around 30 minutes. There's a couple good songs like Bad Bad Leroy Brown, Alabama Rain, which is my favorite, Dreaming Again, and These Dreams. Wouldn't say this is an album that I would go back to again, but I think in comparison to a couple of the other albums that we have listened to, which is around the same era, that isn't like the big names of the classic rock era, this is a decent listen.
All right, Fan.
Okay, so this actually might be my favorite album we've done so far that I've been a part of, actually. I love this record. So like I said before, I've listened to Jim Croce's Greatest Hits album a million times, so I've heard, I think there were 4 songs off of that, and just hearing one less set of footsteps, just again, like to open, I'm like, oh my god, I forgot how much I love this, because I haven't listened to him in like years for the most part, and it totally just, nostalgia hit me with a bunch of that, and these are all just great songs, this is a real, authentic record, which those words might come back later for the next album, but all these songs you could hear this guy telling you these stories at a bar, at a campfire, you could hear him talk about bowling, it's all just very authentic. I don't think he's the sharpest lyricist, but I think that almost works in his favor, because it makes it, more relatable, more like a guy telling a story as opposed to some great wordsmith like Bob Dylan where all the words have like 3 meanings or whatever. So I actually think it works in his favor for that. So I think this album is really enjoyable, easily one of my 2 favorites that we've done so far. So I was a huge fan of this album.
Alright, and as for me, I mean, I quite liked the album. A lot of what I have to say, I'd have to say with, it's kind of similar to what Ben had to say, although I will say, I actually do think Bad Leroy Brown is a good song, unlike him. But...
Wait,
I don't think Ben said anything about Leroy Brown was bad.
Ben,
He just said that
Ben said, I enjoy this song, even though I recognize it's probably not a good song. I have you on tape, Ben.
I mean, I'll agree that I said that, but I didn't say it's a bad song exactly.
Yeah, that's a
I think
fallacy.
it's constructed in terms of like instrumentally. I think it works. Maybe I should say it's a very unoriginal song of himself. On the other hand, I enjoy it. Like, I mean, it's very 70s cheese. Like, it's a fun song for me. So, I'm not saying it's bad, but yeah, it's not. I guess I did say it's not really good either.
Alright, but yeah, I like the album, and quite a bit of what I have to say about it. Probably about the same as what Ben said, although I think I liked it a little bit better than him. A lot of these songs, One Less Set for Steps, Alabama Rain. It doesn't have to be that way. These Dreams, good songs. Leroy Brown, good song too. And that's about it. I mean, I don't have any really novel commentary. I think Fan's probably commentary was better than anything I could give, but I will just say I generally like its call with what him and Ben both said.
Oh, I had a last thought on Jim Croce, actually. So, before we get to the White Stripes, um, to fans comment about him not being a great songwriter, I don't really know if that's true. I would say that
No, I
he's a...
didn't say no. He's a great songwriter. I said he's not like as strong a lyricist as like Bob Dylan,
Oh,
which
Bob.
I think if you listen to it, like that's pretty obvious. You know, his like well of words are not like as deep as Dylan's, but I think he's an excellent songwriter. I wouldn't say it's like the best record we've done if I thought he was a weak songwriter. I think he's excellent. It just he's more so common man as opposed to like somebody who's more like a scholarly type lyricist, which I also said I think works in his favor.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, maybe not so much on this album, but on his previous album, he has "Time in a Bottle," which is an excellently written song. Yeah, it's not Bob Dylan, but in terms of like his masterpieces, I've Got a Name and "Time in a Bottle."
Well, he actually didn't write "I Got a Name." That's the only song he didn't write. That was written for the film soundtrack. To be
Oh,
fair.
okay, well, but "Time in a Bottle" is the "Time in a
Yeah.
Bottle" is one I really care about. I've Got a Name is more Matthew who cares about that one. If I was to pick his best song, I'd put "Time in a Bottle," and like yeah, that is excellent songwriting, I'd say. So yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah,
oh, it
it's
is.
all Bob Dylan. Anyway, over to the White Stripes. The White Stripes album I thought was quite good, especially on a technical and playing level. Of course, Jack White is and his wife at the time, Meg White, all just the band. So it's very interesting that they were able to, just as a duo, come up with this very full sound. I think the album reminded me a lot of Led Zeppelin. Like Led Zeppelin has, I mean, I think Jack White was trying to have his voice be like Robert Plant's. I mean, he does have kind of a high pitched voice, like Robert Plant's anyway, even on like later stuff. But I think he's specifically drawing on Robert Plant here. I thought that the way the production was reminded me of it. The way that the drumming stands out, which is Meg. That the way that the drumming is prominent in it reminded me of Led Zeppelin. Some of the fantasy themes that will pop up at times, most notably in One More Cup of Coffee, despite its title. Because that's not them originally. Of course, it is a Bob Dylan song, I believe. But the way that that's taken up as a part of it reminds me of Led Zeppelin. But I thought this was a very well put together um, album. There was a lot of dependency on blues. I mean, no, Led Zeppelin thing, like their cover of "Stop Breaking Down." St. James the Formaway. The song Canon is based off of a blues standard, John the Revelator. Yeah, I mean it's a callback to the blue, like whole heavy blues rock in like the late '60s, early '70s, and I find that very technically impressive and instrumentally impressive. The lyrics themselves were fine, but it's not that big of a deal. That's probably the weakest part compared to like some of the label stuff, but I mean, obviously, it does deal with the issue of traffic, both the decline of Detroit and also the decline of quality in American cars, in the Big Three Killed My Baby. So that song stood out to me as well. And I will end with that.
All right, Matthew.
I actually really enjoyed this album. I didn't expect to enjoy this album as much as I did, but I think of the albums that are of the blues rock, I think this is the best one since I think the blues rock albums that we have listened to weren't good. To be blunt about it, I would Um, can continue what Ben was saying, how it's a very Led Zeppelin um inspired work, especially the first two Led Zeppelin albums, which were very much blues rock, as the rest of their stuff is more hard rock. And yeah, it's just a pretty good album. It's not their best work, and but I think it was pretty solid.
Fan?
So I absolutely hated this album. I think this is one of the worst albums I've ever heard in my life. This is about as pretentious as it gets for me. Just the guy, he thinks everything he's doing is real and authentic. Unlike Jim Croce, who's the guy, I feel like he's just very much like, we're gonna use the throwback microphone. We're gonna use all these instruments. Just gonna have two of us because it's real and authentic. And the only songs that were worth anything were songs they didn't write. So I thought this album was trash. I didn't like it at all. This is about genuinely, I don't know. This just threw me off entirely.
Alright, well, certainly, strong words from Fan. As for me, I'm gonna be honest, I can't disagree. I didn't really care for it. I thought I was trying too hard to be abrasive and gritty. Excuse me. I thought I was trying too hard to be abrasive and gritty, and there just wasn't really anything enjoyable about its sound whatsoever. The lyrics weren't awful. The lyrics were actually pretty solid, in my opinion. Definitely the best part of the album. But the overall song, especially the vocals, Jack White's vocals, I found to be particularly kind of annoying. Not great.
Well, I think it's probably better than the guy from Sit Steely Dan's vocals. But then again, I don't think Jack White's is like the best vocalist I've ever heard. But I think it's a voice I wouldn't mind hearing every 4 months. Um,
Very interesting way to word that. Okay. Well, basically, let's if I said I just simply didn't care for the album. I thought it was kind of annoying.
let's get to thought who liked better.
Alright, now we're going to say which album we liked better, and we are going to start with, as usual, you, Ben. Which one did you like better?
I like the White Stripes better.
Alright. Matthew?
White Stripes. I think the Jim Croce album was fine, but I think for me, who likes his rock, a bit on the more kind of not edgy, but it has an edge where I think the Jim Croce album is fine, but it's very much too soft for me. I think I think Jim Croce is fine, but it kind of continues like the weaker albums that we listen to, which is not very defining in a way. Like it's fine, but it's very throwaway.
Alright, Fan?
I'm gonna have to go with Jim Croce for this one.
Alright, and I am also obviously voting for Life and Times, so that is 2v2, and that's how it will remain. Alright, so we certainly had some mixed opinions this episode. Alright, well, as for who picked what album, anyone want to take a guess?
Fan picked the Jim Croce. Well, no, I think Chris picked the Jim Croce album, and I think Ben picked the White Stripes album.
Alright, well, drum roll please. Ben picked the Jim Croce album, and I picked the White Stripes album.
Why do you keep basically picking albums you don't even care about? That's like what my thing is.
I mean, to be fair, I pick albums I think would be interesting to talk about, but for real, I had not listened at all to the White Stripes before this. I just knew that they were like a band that was like popular, and so I just picked the album based off of that because I thought it'd be interesting to listen to and form an opinion on.
That sounds very sheep behavior. Just pick one that you like, and just
I like to broaden my horizons.
I'll be honest. I thought you were gonna like the White Stripes album. I really did. Matthew can confirm. I said I don't know what Chris's opinion on this is gonna be, but I think he'll actually like it.
No, I never thought Chris likes that type of music, but you know.
But you can't testify that I said that.
Oh yeah, we talked about it, but I was like, he's not gonna do that because Chris, is Chris in his music.
Well, Matthew was right. I didn't like it, so that's an L for Ben. Alright, everyone, thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.